This will help us control the egg stream and make sure it's extremely thin.
After many requests, we're going to be reviewing Future Canoe again, and today we're doing it in a new spot. If you haven't noticed behind me, I actually have my own studio now, my own YouTube room. New kitchen, new everything, and as many of you know who have moved before, it can be chaotic and still in a bit of a mess. I know that many of you have been asking to see Simba again, and here he is. He's grown a lot since the last time that we saw him. Hi. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Good boy.
Today we're gonna make egg fried rice, but not just any egg fried rice. It's the Yangzhou version from the undisputed goat of Chinese cooking, Chef Wang, or as the internet knows him as Uncle Wang.
We actually reviewed this video not that long ago, which if you haven't seen that video, be sure to check that video after seeing this because we did a very good review. He does do a good job and he has a lot more skill than a lot of us do making egg fried rice.
Unfortunately, our first step is gonna start with a machine. We're using short grain rice.
He got a rice cooker, but it's not the same model that Uncle Roger has. If you have one, it'll still help and it'll still do the job and it will still probably cook the rice a lot better than most people do at home. Although, if you don't have a rice cooker or if you don't have the space for one, it's not a necessity.
We're using short grain rice, which means you have to rinse the starch very thoroughly so it doesn't clump up together. To cook the rice to its perfect moisture, I just use the guiding line inside the pot.
Yes, if you are going to be cooking certain styles of cuisine, especially like egg fried rice or anything like this, it is a good idea to wash the excess starch off the rice, but this can go for many different types of rice, not just short grain, also a lot more long or medium grain, such as basmati or jasmine. The other thing is some types of short grain rice, such as arborio or such as bomba as well here in Spain to make like paella, you don't want to rinse. This is not a good thing.
They're there for a reason. And I know some of you might say,
just use finger.
But you already know I don't trust my fingers with moisture related tasks. Once the machine's done all the work for us, we'll dump, spread, cover, and then into the fridge till it's completely cooled.
Future Canoe is doing a good thing. You do want to chill the rice after you cook it. However, the rice needs to be flat. It cannot be too thick because if you layer the rice too thick, what can happen is, especially after wrapping it and then sticking it in the fridge, the rice will still continue to cook. The heat will be trapped inside and it will create a lot of condensation. And instead of drying that rice out, you'll have a bit of a sticky mess. It'll clump together. And this isn't a good thing. You can actually lay it out flat on a sheet tray, stick it in to the fridge, and it'll help dry the rice out because you want the dried rice. You want it to be a little dry because if it's not dry and if it's soggy, it won't make for a very good stir fry or fried rice.
So with
this grocery list in mind, I arrived at the market in Chinatown, where my full faith in sanitation lies.
I'll tell you a quick story. I remember last year when I was in Morocco, we were taking a trip out to the desert and we stopped off at this little town, I don't remember the name of it, literally in the middle of nowhere, about 2 hours from Marrakesh. We stopped off just to have a bit of a wee and to get some, refreshments. And we walked into the market, which was absolutely dead. There was nobody there. And I have to admit, that was the first time in my life I've ever seen a shark in the desert, like 5 hours from the coast. Never seen it before. Of course, the shark was covered in flies and it was absolutely disgusting. You could smell it from like 20 feet away. But yeah, and it was for sale.
And the Chinese lady at the store, aka the wisest person I'll ever meet in my life, taught me a lot about the usage of these dry seafood, like how these dried scallops are the secret to a umami-packed stock, and that sea cucumbers are expensive as hell. And every single one of them takes about 7 days to prepare.
What the Sea cucumbers are one ingredient I haven't really worked with, but they do take quite a bit of time to prep.
Thankfully, the fish butcher hooked me up with these pre-prepped, ready-to-use frozen sea cucumbers. Once $73 of cash is out of our pocket, it's time to count down the ingredients.
Oh, I can relate to that. I can't tell you how many of these videos have actually cost me, the cooking videos, more money than I thought it would actually cost me. I remember my carbonara video that I made not that long ago, and it cost me quite a bit of money, almost about 100 euros to make, because I bought best cheese, I bought the best ingredients from Italy as well.
So we got cured southern Chinese ham, a bag of dried scallops, some unpeeled green peas, which gonna take over my afternoon, frozen sea cucumbers, and a whole fresh bamboo shoot. These are basically bamboo fetuses. It looks like it's got mold on it, but my stomach is used to it. Dried shiitake, radioactive chicken, and some frozen shrimp. And last but not least, the most important part, the wivels. I know you're surprised at the fact that I have all the ingredients required.
I didn't even use peas for my egg fried rice. I specifically left them out for a reason, because I'm tired of seeing them.
To get the most annoying task out of the way, I'm gonna start by peeling these green peas. And I begin to suspect that I might have gotten the wrong vegetable because they seem to be too small. So I put them away, went back to the grocery store, opened one just to double check I got the correct species of vegetables, only to come back and realize that I got the same thing twice.
Now, future Canoe, if you're saying this, did you really go back to the store? Like, seriously? You went back to the store to buy more peas. In the end, you could have used some frozen peas. It's not like you have to buy peas or sugar snap peas or any other types of peas to actually make egg fried rice with and to actually shuck the peas yourself.
After 45 minutes of hard work, I finally got enough peas to feed a pigeon.
After 45 minutes, that's it. Also, when peeling peas, you don't need to use a knife. You can just to cut off the tip and then to use your thumbs to actually scrape them out of the pod. You can also eat the pods, especially with sugar snap peas, but you have to clean them.
I've never worked with this before, so I'm gonna check out a video from Uncle Wang.
本期视频我跟大家分享一道家常菜，竹鼠烧竹笋。
There were some graphic images in that video, so I'm not gonna show it. Basically, you just want to take out the hard part like you're sharpening a pencil. Once you get to the tender part, you just dice it up like any other vegetable.
I've never worked with fresh bamboo shoots before, so this is one ingredient that, for me, it's new. And, well, you learn something new every day, don't you?
We're also gonna dice up some sea cucumbers. Its shape is just as phallic as regular cucumbers. It's only much wigglier. Our first step is to remove the intestines inside, or as a professional would call it, scraping the shit out of it. Cut into strips, then dice into cubes. Soak shiitake and dried scallops in boiling water for about 25 minutes. Shred the scallops into thin strings, kinda feels like pulled pork, and cut the mushrooms into small cubes. Kind of feels like raw chicken. Speaking of raw chicken, we're gonna debone our radioactive chicken legs and then poach it.
Ah, here we are with the radioactive chicken again. You have to admit though, sometimes when you go to the store and you see chicken at the grocery store, you do have to admit that with chicken breasts being that big, each one, either the chickens are little bodybuilders and they just lift weights, or they're injected with you don't want to know what to grow that big that quickly. We're probably all eating radioactive chicken, to be honest.
We'll also cut them into really small cubes. Oh, I forgot to mention that I cut up some shrimp and poached them as well. Now that we have all our ingredients ready, I realized that I've never been this organized in my life. And like every good video, we gotta attack it from different angles. And my favorite category happens to be POV.
Nice job, team.
Now it's time for the most difficult part of this recipe, preparing the egg floss. We're using 2 whole eggs and 3 egg yolks. Beat it thoroughly with my Ligma fork and then pass it through a sieve to achieve that silky texture.
I think we finally found what that fork is meant to be used as, a whisk. Because normally when you take a fork and you use it to mix the eggs, it just scrapes the bottom of the bowl. But if it's bent like this, Ligma fork, oh, it's good. It doesn't scrape the bowl, it mixes it well.
Now it's time to make the eggs. I'm not confident that I will be able to make it, so we'll follow Chef Wang step by step.
首先我们把锅烧热，锅烧热之后加入小宽油，油温烧至90度之后，开始缓缓地下入蛋液。
So once the oil starts bubbling a little bit, we'll touch it with our finger. You'll know it's hot enough when you hear this.
Don't do that, yeah? I don't recommend touching the oil to check to see whether it's hot enough to cook with, because you can burn yourself like really badly. Use a thermometer, This is the safe way of doing it. Or if you just see the ripples in the oil, you can actually tell with enough time and experience with cooking, and you can actually just add something to the oil to see if it starts frying. This is another way of doing it instead of using your finger to see if it's going to fry it.
否则下太快很容易变成蛋花，而非蛋丝。
So one hand stirs and the other hand pours out the egg as thin as possible.
Ooh, he's actually doing it.
The eggs all clumped up together and became the most oily scrambled ever. I would start over, but I only have the energy to deep fry once a day, so let's just carry on.
Yeah, they do look a little clumpy, don't they? Whenever you add either cold eggs or even room temperature eggs to a pot of oil or any cooking surface, it will drop the temperature. Obviously, if you have a wok that's this big and you have a lot of oil in it, it's not going to drop the temperature as quickly as it would with a little pan that only has, let's say, about 300 milliliters of oil in it.
Stir frying process is very high heat and fast, so we gotta keep all our ingredients ready to use. We'll follow Chef Wang's exact sequence of addition. Once the oil is hot enough, in with the ham, and then shredded scallops, diced shiitake, chicken thighs, sea cucumber, bamboo shoot, and shrimp.
Since I just moved to this new house, I don't have any gas. I have all induction. So, so weird if you haven't used induction before. Like, it really is strange. The very first time that you're going to be making, let's say, I don't know, fajitas or pasta or anything, and you have no fire. And all you hear is beep, 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 beep. And you have to know, how hot is number 7 on the scale here. And trust me, it's easy to burn on induction if you're not used to it. Very easy. I burnt something just the other night because it's been years since I've used one.
Stir a few times to activate the fragrance before adding in our eggs. Once the eggs are broken into smaller pieces, in goes rice and the green peas. Stir to unclump the rice, followed by the first round of green onions. And just like me, after about 30 seconds, it's ready for the second round. Now we'll season the rice with some salt and soy sauce, stir that to combine thoroughly. And unlike me, the spring onion is able to go for a third round. Now we'll turn off the heat, toss that quickly one last time, and ready to serve. I'm gonna have my Instagram followers judge it before Uncle Roger does.
Guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back.
I love reading comments sometimes. They can be hilarious. Very good attempt. It's just that it needs to be improved a little bit, especially with the egg.
It looks pretty far from the original. Let's give it a taste and see what we can improve on. Well, I think the most obvious one is the egg floss. In Chef Wang's video, he managed to get it into perfect little strings. It looks thin as hair and light as air. Another problem is that I wasn't able to get all the rice separate, and there are a few clumped up pieces like this. So we're gonna get a good night's sleep, wake up at 8 a.m. tomorrow, and do a redemption.
You end up making something and it's not perfect the first time. That's fine. You learn from that, you learn from your mistakes, and you just make it again.
New day, new me.
Who else tends to be a bit late waking up in the morning? I mean, normally you have to train yourself, you get used to it. Waking up at 8, but 8's not that early.
After a whole night of thinking, I came up with 2 solutions. To fix the clumping of the rice and also get that wok hay, we're just gonna go buy a wok. There are so many options to choose from, and the most basic one will be the carbon steel wok. I'm definitely not gonna choose this one because you need to season it. I want my tools to save me time, not require extra effort. And this one is just the same thing with an extra layer of non-stick coating, which doesn't handle high heat. And this one is made of iron. It has a higher durability and heat retention, but it's not very beginner friendly. And this one over here is non-stick and has a flattened bottom, basically a deep saucepan, something that Jamie Oliver will use. You can tell by the Italian flag right here.
To be honest, I don't think I've ever seen Jamie use a very deep saucepan like a wok, ever. He's just been using his normal saute pan.
Where your wok. Egg fried rice need to use wok because you need the wok hay.
This one is stainless steel, non-stick with a web coating on the inside. Not only is it easy to use, but it also provides the most even heating.
I did a sponsorship for Hexclad not that long ago, and I actually got a wok from them. I should use it. I forgot that I had it. In any case, Hexclad, I would love another sponsorship. we can cook something in the pans that you sent me.
Gordon Ramsay's been trying to rub these in our faces for the past 2 years, but at least this one's only half the price. And I guarantee you they're made in the same Chinese factory, they just have different labels on. Still, that's a lot of money for a wok. Only entitled douchebags will get these. Now that we have a wok,
Well, it takes one to know one, doesn't it? This is true with a lot of things.
this is so beautiful. Maybe this is what it's like to be a...
Pansexual.
After we gather 2 whole eggs and 4 egg yolks, we'll beat it thoroughly with our ligma fork and move on to solution number 2. My mom's pour over kettle.
No.
This will help us control the egg stream and make sure it's extremely thin.
No, you don't want to do that with a teapot. You have to clean it afterwards. It's meant for tea. That's what a teapot's meant for. Or even the kettle meant for boiling water. I would say a squirt bottle would probably be a better idea. That way you don't even have to really mix it, you can just squirt.
Now that we have everything ready, it's time to start our redemption chapter.
Oh, that was quick. So it was hard to see whether or not it actually improved the process. I'm also with him screaming a little bit with the oil. Don't use a finger, use a thermometer.
Now that the egg is done, let's move on to stir frying. Hot pan, oil in, and the sequence goes like this. Ham, scallop, mushroom, chicken, sea cucumber, bamboo shoot, and shrimp. Toss that around, and then egg in. Toss to separate, add the rice and peas.
Now, if you run out of peas, you can just ask Jamie for some more because he never runs out of them.
Tossing, soy sauce. Tossing, more scallion. Some MSG. Final toss, and serve. From the looks of it, this is much better than my last attempt. Every single grain of rice is separate and fluffy, and the egg is finally thin as hair and light as air.
Oh, I have to admit, him using his mom's teapot with a kettle actually worked. I can see some very, very thin strands of egg.
I'm gonna be murdered tomorrow for putting eggs in a kettle, so this better be worth it. So I'm gonna whip out my ligma fork, taste it, and rate it 1 through 10.
The kettle looks more like a teapot, but if my child did that with the kettle or my teapot, they'd be cleaning it.
Damn.
I put a lot of effort into it, so I'm gonna exaggerate a lot, so take it with a grain of MSG.
Well, now we must know why people tend to exaggerate so much with the cooking.
What do you think?
That's enchiladas. That is real enchiladas.
Yeah.
Although, when Jack exaggerates so much and you don't see that he puts in hardly any effort at all, you have to wonder to yourself, why does he exaggerate?
There are in total 13 ingredients in this dish, and each one of them is playing their part perfectly. The ham, scallop, and green onions give off this addicting aroma after stir frying. And there are so many levels of umami flavors offered by the shrimp, chicken, and shiitake. But the highlight of this dish is definitely its diversity in texture. There's some crunchiness from the bamboo shoot and the peas. The sea cucumber becomes like a savory jelly. The rice is dry and separated, almost bouncing between your teeth. But the most impressive part is
Bouncing between your teeth. I think he's been watching Nigella Lawson.
And we are firmly back in the universe of umami now.
the texture reminds me of a really well cooked chicken. Who knew eggs have the potential to be like chickens? If you have time, tag or send this video to Uncle Roger so he can review the dish for us. Thank you so much for 100,000 subscribers. It's great to see our community is growing so fast. I can't wait for our journey in the future together. Alright, thank you.
Overall, I have to admit that Future Canoe, with both the first and the second try, he did very good. The second try did look a little better than the first, at least with the egg. You know, if you have the right equipment, obviously it does help a bit. Hopefully you have a great week, guys. Take care. I'll see you again very soon. But until then, check out this next video coming up here, and I will see you again next week. Until then, take care.